Hi everyone, today we're going to be doing another unbox, review, test, and overall discussion about products sent to me by one of you for review on the channel. Today's review is of RIVERMAN candles, and like we have done in the other reviews of the past, we're going to take a look at unboxing them together and take a look at the packaging, the labeling, basically overall appearances, talk a little bit about the wax inside, or at least my best guesses on what I think is going on with the wax and the wicks. And then I'll come back and talk about my overall feedback, what I really liked about the candles, offer some potential maybe ideas or recommendations if there are any. So I hope you enjoy. Hi everyone, my name is Wade Thomas. I'm the owner of Blackbeard Candle Company, and obviously I run this YouTube channel. If you are interested in any content about candle making, running a candle business, seeing other candle reviews, and really anything like that as part of the industry, I would encourage you to subscribe by hitting the button below. And also, if you wouldn't mind, give this video a quick thumbs up by hitting the like button below. That really helps out the channel. As always, I really appreciate you all for being here. I like to cover a couple quick ground rules or disclaimers, so to speak, when it comes to doing these reviews, just so everyone knows where we're coming from and that we're all on the same page. All of these candles are sent to me voluntarily, so I'm not surprising anyone by doing this. It is voluntarily and it's just for fun. It's a good way to learn from each other and see different eyes and perspectives on our products and just to get some general feedback. So that's really what it is more than anything. It's a lot of fun. This isn't like a pass or fail type things. I'm not the end-all be-all expert on candle making, so I'm not here to just kind of say, yes, this is a pass or a fail type candle. It's more of just checking out the candle, giving my perspective and feedback on it, maybe offering some little tips for improvement if there are anything like that that I can offer. But really, it's just to give you all a chance at a little bit of exposure, and let's just talk about your products as you send them in. It's just a lot of fun. We're all part of one big community, and we like to help each other out, and it's really interesting to be able to see each other's products. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So as I talked about while I'm unboxing this, first we're going to take a look at the product, as far as unboxing it, unpackaging it, taking a look at the label, looking at the candle itself, and then we'll come back later after I have had a week or so to test it and come back with post-testing results. So this is fun. So the first thing is right on top here is a folded envelope that says answers to any guesses you may have. So they've obviously seen some of the reviews before, and they know that I like to try to throw out some guesses on what I think the wax type might be or the wick type and size might be. I just think it's fun to do that. Obviously, sometimes I'll be right, sometimes I'll be wrong, but it is really fun and interesting, I think, for people to kind of follow along, play along. So I'm going to open this last after we've really gone through all of my guesses in the first part of the video. And then there's just a general letter underneath. I'm not going to really read the entire thing on here, but it looks like just a general kind of thank you for doing the video. Thank you for doing the review and some positive feedback about the channel in general. And that they're fairly new to candle making and they're looking for an open, honest, transparent approach is truly awesome. And that's what they're looking for in this review. Okay, and then there's a little bit more of a detailed letter here. And I'm going to read a little bit of this because they said there's some information to know about their product and to share if I wish. To summarize, the gentleman's name is Chris. He makes all of these products himself. And that RIVERMAN candles was originally a concept of his because his wife loves candles, but not the candles that he likes. So he wanted to come up with a line that he would like as well. And he said, looking at most of the shelves in the store, there isn't a lot of strictly masculine scents. So at least in his opinion, that's what he was going for with this brand. Now it looks like he has 3 candle series that he offers: Legendary Series, Adventurer Series, and Gentleman's Club. First of all, that's really cool. I love having collections and different series and lines of candles. I think it's really neat. But I also really, really like that these are branded. They really fit the niche that Chris is going for with RIVERMAN candles. The Legendary Series, he says these candles are themed towards legendary historical icons and mythical creatures. Next, he has the Adventurer Series. He says, used with the same wax, wicks, and containers as the Legendary Series, but it's meant to smell more like an epic adventure. And he said the purpose of this candle line is to kind of take that sense of adventure and be able to smell that adventure in your home. And then lastly is the Gentleman's Club. It says these candles are meant to be more luxurious. These candles are made to order and only the wax and wick come standard. The vessel, lid, and scent are all customizable and interchangeable. So I'm going to set that aside. I wanted to cover that, and I did choose to read all that because I thought it was really interesting. A lot of thought and intent went into this business and his niche. And I really like the separation of candle lines. It really helps build his brand and make it recognizable. And I like that each one of those lines and series of candles are uniquely separate from each other. And I like that one of them is a customizable type brand. So let's go ahead and dig in. I'm going to try to do this the best that I can. I'm going to pull out everything individually first. Okay, these are nice. These come in like velvet pouches. These are super nice. So like I said, let me go ahead and get everything out. Ooh, there's a lot in here. Now I'm guessing that because of the way that these are packaged up and the size and weight of everything, I'm assuming that those are probably 10s, but I'm not entirely sure. We'll take a look when we get there. But it looks like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of these candles in these velvet bags, which I don't know if they're velvet, but they're really nice. And then there is one in a box here. Let's go ahead and take a look at that one first, since it does appear to be the one that is distinct from the others. Okay, so the first thing we get is a promo card here, and it says The Gentleman's Club by RIVERMAN Candles. So this is that part of that fancy Gentleman's Club line, the one that's more luxurious. That makes sense, it's in its own box. And then on the back here, we've got some information, and it says, welcome to the Gentleman's Club, custom tailored for the gentleman and you. And then it goes through basically some candle burning tips and recommendations. So let's go ahead and take this out. Go ahead and get this guy out here. Really, really like all the velvet bags. I don't know what that does to the cost of your goods per sale, but they're really, really nice. Really, really, really nice black jar. It looks luxurious. It looks heavy duty. It's kind of a mix between a gloss and a matte, which is really neat. It says Vetiver and peppered lime with basil. Kind of luxurious, unique. I don't know what that's going to smell like, but I like vetiver, I love lime, and I like basil. So I have never smelled this before, at least by that name. So I'm really, really interested in what this is going to smell like. A luxury blend of beeswax and coconut. This will be the first coconut beeswax blend that I've tested from the candles sent to me by all of you. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one. Now that I've smelled it, it smells a little bit more familiar to me. I would not have known that it was vetiver and peppered lime with basil, but it does smell really good, and it definitely smells like something I would want burning in my house. It's kind of right up my alley, so I would really, really enjoy this. Now, if you take a look at the wax here, you're going to see it has that natural kind of color to it. It does have a nice kind of soft feel. That's going to be from the coconut, and even beeswax is fairly soft. It just kind of firms up. But you will see a little bit of separation from the wall of the candle, but that's going to be really common with any kind of beeswax, just because it does firm up and contract, and it becomes kind of a harder wax. It's not a big deal though. Most waxes pull away from the wall of the candle jar. It's very common, and there's nothing really wrong with that. As long as it's not falling out of the candle, out of the container, you're not going to have a problem. And then obviously we have a wood wick in here. Now just looking at this, it is definitely a wood wick booster. I don't know if the camera will pick it up, but there is a booster in the center. And if I had to guess on the wick, I would say this is either a 0.03 with a 0.75 inch width, or possibly 0.04 for the thickness, and being a booster wick at 0.75 inches. So that'd be my guess on the wick size. The one suggestion I have, just looking at the inside of the candle, is to probably trim down that wood wick just a little bit. It's at a little over 1/4 inch, it looks like. And most wood wicks you want about between 1/8 and 1/4 inch. So I would definitely maybe cut that in about half of what it is. But that's really going to affect the first burn and not so much anything after that. So it's not a huge deal, but it's just kind of a practice I like to do with wood wicks. However, it might act a little bit different with this wax blend. I'm not entirely sure. That looks like it should be sitting on a shelf somewhere. That's a gorgeous candle. So I'm going to set that aside. Now these others, we're not going to talk about the wax and the wick as much because, as noted, it is the same wax and wick used in these two series. So we're just going to talk about it briefly in one of them and then take a look at the labels on the other. This is cool. So this is, again, their label on the top, RIVERMAN Candles, established 2020. This is going to be part of the Legendary series from the Wild Bill label here, you can see. He talks about him, a bear wrestling, gunslinging, gambling lawman, and then a little bit of a fact. There is a warning built in. There's a real warning on the bottom, and then there is a funny warning. Looks like specific probably to the line of candles. This one says, warning, this mandel will release powerful manly aromas that will release your inner man beast. So that's pretty funny. Hand poured, handcrafted, 100% natural soy for 100% all natural man. So this is a different wax, it looks like, than the luxury candle. Luxury candle was a coconut beeswax, which makes sense. Both of those waxes are going to be generally a little bit more expensive. Although right now soy wax is really expensive thanks to the pandemic. So you could claim all of these are luxury candles right now. But anyway, so this is a different container wax that I'm assuming is going to be the same one. Yes, the letter said that the candle wax in the Legendary and the Adventure series, all these ones we're going to be looking at next, are all using a soy wax candle. And then the wick, he didn't say the wick, but I'm going to take my best guess at it once we take a look. All right, so let's take this off. Okay, I was expecting them not to be colored. Most of the candles I've received for review have not been colored, especially ones with opaque not clear glass containers. So I really like the fact that you color that. And it really matches the this particular candle. You can definitely see a little bit of the frosting, telling you it's a soy candle. If I had to settle on one, I'd go with 464. Good adhesion, nice smooth top. Most likely probably poured at a really good temperature, even used a heat gun a little bit to smooth it out, but great looking candle, great looking. The only reason there's any smudges on it at all is because of my finger, because I'm feeling the wax. Okay, the wick. Typically with a soy candle, you're going to see Eco, CD, HTP, and sometimes Premier. It just depends on the size of the candle. I do not think that this is a HTP wick, just because of the threads. My two guesses here would be CD or Eco. The CD is the safest choice because it's used the most in soy waxes. I kind of want to take a little bit of a risk here and say Eco, but I'm gonna stick with the CD wick. I think it's a CD, and if I had to guess, I would say probably an 18 or a 20. Being a 10, that tends to hold in the heat a little bit better than glass. I'm going to assume that he probably knew that as well and did some testing. And I'm going to say 464 wax with a CD 18 or maybe a CD 20. That would be my guess. You know, so we did spend a lot of time on that one because I want to talk about the wax and the wick. But again, all of these are going to have that same wax and wick for the most part. So we're going to just focus on the fragrance and the label itself on the rest of them. Great looking labels and very unique brand. I'm really digging this so far. All right, so the next one looks like also part of the Legendary series. This is Marco Polo. Oh, and I forgot to mention these are 6-ounce candles. Let's go ahead and check this one out. Well, maybe. I can't get this one off. Come on, come on. Okay, well, that one took a little bit of work. I actually dug in the lid a little bit on the candle itself, so that it didn't show up like that. That's from the lid. That was my fault. Okay, I like this one. Let's see if it has any fragrance descriptions on it. Now, I forgot to talk about the scent a little bit in the last one, other than it smelled good. I definitely detected some leather on the last one with something else, something a little woodsy. I really like the leather scent, so that's why I picked it up in that first one. That was the Wild Bill. This Marco Polo one also has that woodsy notes, but definitely some clove. I can definitely smell some clove in this one. So I really enjoy this one. I actually think I like this one even better. Great cold throw, great fragrance. These are fun, man. I gotta give you some credit, Chris. This is a lot of fun. I almost want to just like own every one of these and have them on a shelf as a collection. That's why I'm attracted to candle lines and collections, is it adds something else to the experience rather than just a candle, right? This is part of the Adventurer series. And then Whitewater Rafter. Oh, that's fun. Okay, so a description of the adventure on the side, and the fragrance is going to depict that in some fashion, right? A little bit about whitewater rafting on the label. And again, this is using the same wax and wicks. We're not going to talk about those unless I change my mind on what I think the wax or the wick is. So I had a little bit of trouble getting the lid off again. That can happen sometimes with tins. It just depends on how they fit. Also, if the lid is put on too soon after being poured, as everything kind of shrinks, it can cause that to seal a little bit tighter. So it's not a problem. I mean, actually, a tighter fitting lid is better than a looser fitting lid, but a couple of them have been a little tough to get off. So this one has a little bit of I have a rainwater scent. It smells a little bit like that. So some type of aqua or floral scent. And there's something else in there too, but I don't know what it is. If it's some kind of amber or some kind of little bit of a woodsy note. Whitewater Rafter. Just trying to do some kind of logic to here of what he might have put in here. Some kind of water, lily smell, some kind of water plants. Very fresh. This is quite contrasting to the previous ones, but very good and very fresh. My favorite so far still is the Marco Polo. Next up, we're back to the Legendary series. Sorry, I don't know which is which, so we're kind of going in order here. Legendary series, this one is Blackbeard. Oh, that's fun. Freshly plundered rum on board the pirate ship. And it's got the skull and crossbones. I really love the themes, man. This is fun. Woo. Okay, so pretty much a perfect fragrance for what this candle is. Blackbeard, pirates. You're gonna want something very kind of dark smelling, right? Not only the color is dark. By the way, the colors have been perfect with everything so far. I know they've been fairly close and they're kind of dark, muted colors, but they're perfect for each one so far. They all make sense. Again, a tiny bit of frosting, but not uncommon for 464 wax. It's pretty normal. It's something that if you're using this wax, you just got to learn to live with. That sure smells like dragon's blood. I could be wrong, but I would bet my money that this is a dragon's blood scent. I don't know if there's anything else in it. It doesn't smell quite as dark as normal dragon's blood, so it's either a dragon's blood that I haven't used or there's something else added. But for the most part, I'm going to say that's a dragon's blood scent. It's very incensey. All right, another legendary series. This one is Davey Crockett. Hopefully you guys are getting enough of this in the camera. I apologize if you're not. It's kind of difficult to work on both cameras, so I'm trying my best. Davey Crockett, the king of the wild frontier. And just in case, I'll show this up here a little bit. I'm going to hold it in front of my face since the autofocus is on. They look great, don't they? Do I have that upside down? So Davey Crockett, what should Davey Crockett smell like? The king of wild frontier. I would imagine that Davey Crockett's going to smell, outdoorsy, woodsy, an adventurer, traveler, woods. I think of the woods. So definitely pick up some woods. So good guess on my part. What woods am I picking up? Some kind of pine or a fir. I mean, it smells almost like a Christmassy scent. The orange is throwing me off, but I think it's because I'm also picking up some fall smells. So I think he got kind of creative with this one. This one smells like a pine or a fir tree mixed with like a fallen leaves. There's something kind of sweet there, so I don't know if that's a orange or an apple. There is a fragrance called Pine Boughs and Apples or something like that, and it's kind of a tree with an apple smell. That's sort of what this reminds me of. So if I had to guess, I'd say a pine or a fir mixed with an apple or an orange. Yeah, very good. Probably my second favorite fragrance of the group so far. Last up, love the outdoorsy scents. Those are my favorite. A lot of times you see top labels that don't really look that great to me, in my opinion. I think yours are good. They really make sense. Before even opening this, I'm going to assume it smells maybe like campfire, maybe some kind of bonfire scent or a campfire scent. I'm not sure. Let's go ahead and check it out. What am I smelling here? It was definitely wrong. I'm not smelling much of a campfire or bonfire scent like I thought might be. That was just a guess. What I am smelling, I don't know if this is right, but I'm smelling some kind of like banana nut bread. So I'm assuming the purpose of this, the camper, there's a tent, you're gonna sit around a campfire, you're gonna do s'mores, you're gonna do snacks, drinks, just hang out, right? So I'm assuming it's supposed to be related to that. And I'm gonna guess that they're going for the sitting around a campfire as a group. There is something sweet about this, so I'm going to again assume that it's supposed to be something with cooking something, marshmallows, a s'more, something like that. Because I'm definitely picking up some of those notes, those sweet notes. Anyways, regardless of what it is, and I'm probably wrong on this one, I can't pick up what it's supposed to be. Let's go ahead and wrap up this first part of this video. This is going to be a longer review because there are so many products. So the overall look of the luxury candle is great. It's hard to argue. I still think these 10s are my favorite though, because of the niche, because of the branding, because of the market, because they all are fun and have a little bit of creativity and a thoughtfulness to them, right? They have a plan. Not that this one doesn't. This is meant to be a luxurious candle, like a luxury line. But I think these are playful and fun. And so I really do enjoy these. And so the final note real quick before I step away and do some testing is, even though these are different lines, right? Even though this is your legendary line, and this is your adventure series, they have that same vintage. Even though they're different designs, they have the same look and feel to them, just a different collection. When you can nail that, you're doing something right. They're different lines of candles, different collections, but you can tell they're all made by the same company. So excellent job on that. Great job with the branding, great job with the creativity. Love the fragrances, love the color, love the labels. I think you did an excellent job. I can't wait to test these. So I'll be back in just a minute after I've stepped away for a week to test, and we'll talk some more. So I'll be right back. Well, it's been about a week and a half, and I've had a chance to do a lot of thorough testing of all of these candles that we talked about earlier in the video. And I'm going to kind of briefly touch on each one and just let you know what I thought about them individually. And then I'll wrap the rest of this video up with kind of checking my guesses that I made in the first half of this video against the letter that they had sent me with some information included, just to have a little bit of fun. And then we will end with some of my final thoughts. Thank you all for sticking with me to this point, this part of the video. Again, there were a lot of candles to cover in this particular video, so without further ado, let's go ahead and talk about my results and my feedback after we've had a chance to test them. Start off with what was probably my least favorite as far as the fragrances go, and that was the Camper. Now, I struggled with, if you recall in the earlier part of this video, trying to identify what this fragrance actually is. and I still don't know. Like I mentioned, it definitely had some of that sweetness to it. I think it's supposed to have that campfire vibe, and I did pick up a little bit of that, but I'm still having a hard time trying to identify exactly what that fragrance is. However, let's just talk about the burn. I'm sure we can get a little bit more of the information on the fragrance once we open up that letter that was sent with some additional details. So as far as the wicking and the burn goes, it burned very well overall. I would probably wick down one size and see how that goes. Like I said earlier, I think if I had to guess on a wick, I would have said about a CD18 or CD20 probably throughout. It did burn fine, but I think it could benefit from one size smaller on the wick. And the camper was part of the Adventurer series, if you recall, and we're going to continue on with the other candle from the Adventurer series, which was the Whitewater Rafter. Now, I actually enjoyed this fragrance much more than the camper, but it is a very kind of strong, almost floral slash perfumey type fragrance. And so if you enjoy that type of fragrance, this is really good. If you don't, then you might not like it. But I did prefer this one over the camper. In terms of how it was wicked and how it burned, it was a little interesting. It was the first one that I thought might have been underwicked at first. However, it ended up catching up just fine. It ended up burning perfectly. I had no concerns with this one whatsoever. And like I said, I really enjoyed the fragrance of this one. So I would say this was definitely a good one. I enjoyed the scent and it burned very well. Now, I'm going to group the next two together for a couple of reasons. One is out of the jar or out of the tin, these were the two that intrigued me the most as far as the scent goes, as far as the fragrance oils that were used. Marco Polo was my favorite, probably out of all of them when I smelled them during the first part of the video. The other reason I'm grouping these two together is they had very, very similar burn characteristics. Both of them, I think, burned very, very good overall, but like the camper, I'd probably wick down one size and see if that benefits you. So if this was indeed a CD18, I would try a 16, or if it was a CD20, I'd try an 18. Again, those are just guesses. I don't know yet until we get to the letter what wicks were actually used. I could be wrong. They could be eco wicks. I still think they're CD wicks for sure, though. But I could be a little off on the sizing. However, I would probably try one size smaller on each and see if that gives you any better results. The one thing that I have to mention on the Davey Crockett is, like most of the soy wax candles, and you'll see in some of these pictures, especially with 464, you're going to see some weird effects very frequently after the candles is burned. You're going to see some patches of the wax that look discolored or flaky and look like they're kind of crusty and have little holes. All of these, as you'll see in the photos, did have a little bit of that going on, but a couple of them were worse than others. And this Davey Crockett candle was one of the ones that consistently developed some weird cratered tops after burning. And in fact, this one at one point almost drowned out because I think a sinkhole had developed as it was cooling. And so that is one of the natures of using soy wax, is that inconsistent cooling, and you get some of the craterness, if that's a word, and some other potential issues as they are heated, then cooled, then heated and cooled. And this one, I think, did form a little bit of an air pocket from that uneven cooling. And it's hard to see in the photo, but once the wick kind of hit that point, it really struggled, and I thought it was going to drown out. Now, it ended up recovering just fine. Like I said, it burned pretty well overall, but both of these kind of suffered from that issue. However, I really enjoyed the fragrance of both, and they ended up being successful candles at the end. The next one is the only candle among all that were sent to me that I would consider almost that it wasn't a pass, and it's strictly because the wick really struggled in this one, and that is the Blackbeard Candle. The Blackbeard Candle, it never really got a full melt pool. It continued to kind of leave a pretty significant ring, and it was sort of tunneling, and it also really struggled to keep a good flame. Almost the entire life of the candle, the flame was really weak, like it was struggling. Now, my guess is a black colored candle, and a lot of times you got to use a lot of black dye to get that deep of a color. And so I'm just wondering if the combination of a heavy fragrance oil and the dye itself might have been clogging the wick, because it did struggle to keep a nice, good-looking flame. So that was the only one I really had an issue with as far as the burning and the wicking goes. But with that being said, I wanted to follow that up with what ended up being my favorite of the 10 candles, which was the last one that was part of the Legendary series, and that is Wild Bill. This one, I had a feeling, I mean, I already kind of knew what this one was going into it. It had that leather smell. And then, of course, the hot throw was still leather. I actually have a leather scent myself, so I'm really fond of this. It's probably polarizing. Some people love leather smell, some don't like it. The reason this was my overall favorite is, besides the fact that I like that leather fragrance, is because it burned perfectly. This one, I never had to even trim. It curled perfectly. It had just enough of a bend, but it never developed a mushroom. It never drowned out. It was almost a perfect steady flame the entire time. So this is kind of what I would use as your benchmark. You can't make every candle do this. It's almost impossible, but this is the one I would use as your standard, is try to get the others to work like this one. The others were really close. Like I said, probably one wick size adjustment would be the closest you can get, but some just work perfectly. It's that balance of the wax and the wick and the fragrance oil type with the fragrance oil amount. I mean, it all works together, and this one ended up being just absolutely perfect. And again, I loved the fragrance of this one. I love the leather smell. It did have the same effect that the others do. Once it dries, it kind of has some weird looking textures on the top, but you just got to get used to that with soy waxes if you're going to use them. But other than that, this ended up being perfect and definitely my favorite of the bunch. Lastly, let's take a look at that luxury candle. Now, if you recall, this was part of the Gentleman's Club. Now, I don't have the lid with me on top, but again, it's a gorgeous candle. I was curious. I had never used a beeswax coconut blend, at least in a container candle that I can recall. And you could tell it was definitely different than the others. It was a little more appealing to look at in the jar than the others in terms of not getting, you know, that kind of cratered, crusty looking top. And this was the only one that was a wood wick of the bunch. First, it was kind of struggling. It was definitely a little too tall. I would trim it a little bit lower. But eventually it ended up being just fine, and it ended up burning pretty well overall. It left a little bit of residue on the side as it was burning, but that's like perfectly okay. I know a lot of people freak out and really want a perfectly clean side of the jar, but I'm not one of those people. I think that's completely okay. You just don't want to leave a lot where the customer feels like they're getting robbed of too much wax left, but a little bit is okay. 90% of the time it catches up, but even if it doesn't, it's totally fine. It usually indicates that you've got kind of a perfectly sized wick. You don't want it to get so hot where the outside of the jar is scorching on fire, and none of these got that way, including this one. So I actually think the sizing was pretty good. You could maybe experiment a little bit if that really was bothering you, but the amount of hang up on the side was so minimal that I actually think the wicking is perfect, and I would leave it just the way it was. Now, the fragrance oil throw in this one was, I would say, moderate at best. It wasn't, I actually think the 464 fragrance throw was better, which is not something I say a lot of, but they were all really good, minus the Blackbeard one, I think. But I did enjoy the woodwick. It burned really, really well. Some people do struggle with woodwicks. It didn't seem like you had any issues wicking yours at all. So great job on that. Great job on the luxury candle. Burned well, smelled good, and the wicking was probably perfect. So let's go ahead and check my guesses. This is going to be fun. Go ahead and see what is going on. He's got this in two sections, wax and wicks and scent notes. Perfect, because I made guesses on all of that. So starting off with all the 10s, looks like it's a soy 464 wax. I don't know if I specifically guessed 464, but I know I kept saying 464, so I might have just assumed it was. We knew it was a natural soy wax because the label said that. And then the characteristics of it just screamed 464. So we were right on that if I actually made that official guess. And you see the smile forming on my face because I actually nailed the wicks. They are in fact CD series, and they are a CD 18. It looks like across the board. So I think my guess was a CD 18 with possibly CD 20. So good, 2 for 2 so far. And then of course the luxury candle, we knew that was a beeswax coconut blend because it said it on the label. And then the wick size was a 0.03 and a 3/4 inch, 0.75 inch width. I think that's what I guessed, something like that. I think I said 0.03 or 0.04 with a 3/4 inch width. So once again, I think we're kind of nailing these so far. Okay, the scent notes. Now, I don't recall everything that I said, but I'm sure it will come back to me as we go. We're going to start with the Wild Bill. That was the leather and gun smoke. I didn't say gun smoke, but I definitely smelled the leather and something else. Really enjoyed that one. Love that one. And again, I think we're pretty close on that one. Next is Blackbeard. Now, I was saying dragon's blood. It had that kind of fragrance. This says bay rum. I still smell a lot of dragon's blood, that kind of incense smell, but definitely something else too. So I don't know enough about the bay rum fragrance, so I'll give myself maybe a little partial credit on that one, but overall I did not guess bay rum, so I would say probably no credit on that one. Davey Crockett. This is one of the ones that was really interesting to me, and if I remember right, I was like, it was kind of woodsy. but also had some kind of fruit or some kind of spice notes to it. If we take a look at the notes, it says Fraser fir and apple. I'm pretty proud of that guess because that was a complex smelling fragrance, and I think I got that almost exactly right. I think I said a pine or a fir, and then I think I said some kind of fruit like an orange or an apple. So I'll have to go back and look at when I'm editing this video to see if I actually said that. But well, I'm tooting my own horn here, but I'm actually impressed I was that close on that one. Next, Marco Polo, which is my favorite one out of the 10 with as far as the cold throw goes. I don't remember what I guessed. I just really enjoyed the fragrance. And I think I might have said there was a little bit of clove or some kind of spice in it, but definitely some clove. I can definitely smell some clove in this one. But I don't know what I could have guessed on this one, but according to the answers, it was redwood and clove. Well, I don't know exactly what I said, but I'm pretty positive I didn't say redwood and clove, but very good fragrance, love it. Whitewater, Rafter, waterfall, and moss. I think I give myself half credit on that one. I believe I said it was some kind of natural rain or water fragrance with a little bit of a floral and plant, and this is waterfall and moss. I mean, that wasn't rocket science based off the type of fragrance it smells like and the name of the candle, but you know, I don't think I guessed moss specifically, so you know, I'll give myself half credit on that one, but another good interesting fragrance. Campfire. Okay, I have to get to Campfire because I had no idea what this was. I think I knew what it was supposed to be, but it didn't smell like that to me, so I was really thrown off. And in fact, it is s'mores on a campfire. So that's pretty close to what I said I think it was supposed to be because there was a little bit of a sweet bakery scent and a little bit of that campfire vibe. But I'll tell you, it's definitely, like I said, not my favorite of the fragrances. And I'm getting a little bit of that, I guess, but I can't give myself any credit on this one because I have no idea what this actually was. And so this might be very popular with other people, and I don't want anyone to think that it's like, oh, this is a terrible candle. It's not like that. It just was my least favorite out of all these other candles. I really, really, really liked some of these other candles. So saying this was not one of my favorite ones doesn't necessarily mean anything negative. I loved some of the other ones so much. The last one, the answer here isn't going to be anything revealing because, yeah, it doesn't say anything more than the label already tells us. And this one was a Vetiver peppered lime with basil. Like I said, I didn't know exactly what that was going to smell like. It's a really good fragrance. I love the fragrance. I wish it was a little bit stronger, but other than that, I absolutely love the fragrance. Okay, guys, that wraps up the individual candles and fact checking myself here or checking my guesses. Quick final thoughts. My final thoughts here is simply this. This was some of the best hot throwing 464 candles I've ever personally burned from another candle maker. I've tested a lot of 464 candles and they're usually around average hot throw. The majority of these were very, very good, including large areas. The secret sauce sometimes with 464 is finding fragrance oils that just work well with the wax. You might have to do a lot of testing, but if you dial in the right oils to work with the wax, you can get great results. And this is proof of that. And give it enough time. Let the candles sit for a couple weeks, let them cure, find the proper wicking, and you will have successful candles. And the RIVERMAN candles here are definitely successful candles. So great work. I was very impressed with the performance of the candles and also really enjoyed and I thought it was a lot of fun with the themed candle lines. Thank you for sending them in for a review on the channel. And hopefully the rest of you enjoyed the review as well. And if any of the rest of you are interested in doing the same thing, sending me a few candles or products, for a little bit of feedback and review on the channel, feel free to just leave me a comment and also let me know what you think about these. I thought this was a lot of fun. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well, and I will see you next time. Thanks.